Linden from Commodore here. We've just got the 9 kVA Commodore water-cooled generator. And we're just going to run through setting it up, filling it up with diesel and oil and the coolant that it needs. So to start off with the oil we need to put in. The most important thing is that it's a heavy-duty diesel oil. So we're going to go with a 15W40, which is a pretty good all-rounder for most sort of climates in Victoria and Australia. If you're in a really cool area, alpine regions and so on, you might drop it back to a 10W30. We're going to put a coolant in it, a glycol-based green coolant, and then just diesel. Yeah, so we're just going to start, we're going to put the coolant in, so we've got a little funnel that comes with it. Just filling it at the top of the Jenny up here, so it's got a little radiator cap on it. And just again, we've got the glycol base, just a green type coolant. We've just poured it in a pre-mix, makes it a lot easier to fill it up. This particular unit's got a 5.8 litre capacity. Once we've got it full, there's a little overflow unit down here. So the idea is there that it can sort of suck in and out of that overflow if it needs to. So pop that off. And then we'll just fill a little bit up here. It's got a minimum low level there. We'll top that up with a little bit as well. So it's got something to draw in and out of. Just got a little hose on it there, pop them back on. So we're going to fill it up with oil. We've got the 15W40 diesel oil. So there's a little cap, just a little rubber cap on the top of the motor here. So we'll unscrew that rubber cap. So just going to check the oil level, make sure we put enough in. There's a dipstick around the other side. Check that one. Alright, awesome. The big thing we see with the generators with diesel is it's really important how you store it. You can see problems if the fuel container's left outside or it's an old oil drum or something like that. It can suck the moisture back in and you end up with water in your fuel. So it's really important you use a good jerry can or proper storage container and make sure it's kept inside the garage or somewhere nice and dry. We're going to chuck a bit of diesel in here. There's a little fuel gauge up on top. And just put a couple of litres in so we can get it fired up. The next thing is to get the fuel set up and sort of prime. So there's a fuel tap coming off the bottom here, turn that on, and then there's a little primer bulb down here. So press that in a few times and you should start to feel it pressurise that line up a bit, and you can even start to hear a couple of little air bubbles going back into the tank with a few pumps starting to get fairly stiff. Should be right to give it a fire up. They come equipped with a battery isolator so that when the shipping, you feel the battery and everything's disconnected and doesn't go flat on you. So just in this right hand corner here, flick it on. Should be otherwise all hooked up, ready to go. So just a couple of terminals there. The little 12-volt solar panel that we supplied can just be hooked onto those terminals as well, just to keep the battery topped up when it's in the auto start mode. It can chew away a little bit at the battery. So for our main power connection, everything's in this box here. So it's a little lockable box. Got a main circuit breaker. So normally, especially with our off-grid systems, they're going to be hardwired, and you just come up under the bottom and into the hard line into the circuit breaker. Cover off. Just got your main wiring bay there, that's the hardwire, and your 2-wire auto starter. These two little pins on the left here. Yeah, that'd come across from your Victron colour screen or inverter, ready to auto start the generator. So just 2 wires in there. Doesn't matter which way they go, not polarity sensitive. And then as soon as you pop that into the auto mode on your controller, it's ready to auto start when your inverter system calls for it if your batteries are low. Just make sure there's an emergency stop, so I'll click that and make sure it's on. And we'll just do a manual start. So you've got a key, the first thing, turn the key to on, controller will light up. For a manual start, it's as simple as just pressing the green button and it'll So that was a manual start. So the auto is very similar. You switch the key back on, you'd leave the key on all the time when it's in auto mode. And just a matter of pressing that auto button there, the red light will come up, tell you that it's on auto. And you just leave it in that position when it's hooked up to your off-grid system, and as soon as it gets the signal from your off-grid system, it'll fire itself up as needed. So to do the manual start, easy to just see on that screen. Once you've got it running, you can cycle through and check your voltage and frequency. Sometimes the transit or general use, the frequency can get a little bit out of sync. So it should be running right on 50 Hertz. So if you need to, this is the adjustments for your frequency. These two tabs here. So you unwind that and just move it backwards and forwards. And that'll vary your RPM of your motor slightly, and then you just check that back there on the screen to make sure you're at your perfect 50 Hertz. So sometimes the voltage level in the generator might get a little bit out of sync as well, if it gets knocked around in transit or similar. So the good thing about these is they've just got a voltage adjustment dial behind the screen, so it's really easy to tune it if it ever needs to. So just pop this little panel here. It opens up, and it's just up in this top left hand corner that's labelled voltage regulator, and you can just adjust that dial to move it up and down. So you normally want it running around 240 volts. This will allow you to adjust it from around 220 up to 250. So you just check on your multimeter or back on the screen when it's running, and then jump in and adjust that if need be. So we've got the little solar panel from Commodore as well, so it's this little 10 watt or 20 watt panel. They've actually got a little built-in regulator on these ones. One trick a lot of people miss is that because of this regulator, unless it's connected to a battery, it doesn't put out any voltage. So if you go trying to measure it without it being connected to a battery, you might think that it's faulty, but as soon as you put the battery on, it'll fire it up. So it just alligator clips on the back of the panel. They come with about a 4 metre lead. Set it up somewhere out in the sun, obviously. Then right, just hook it straight on. Just the alligator clip straight onto the battery terminal. And that'll just act as a little trickle charger. Keep it topped up so that your battery's good to go when you need to auto start. So that was just a little intro video on the 9 kVA. Hopefully you find it helpful. So yeah, just make sure to check in the manual for your other models, the 13 kVAs and bigger, for your coolant capacity and oil capacity, and also check in there for your service schedule just to make sure that's getting kept up to date to stay in check with your warranty. So thanks for watching, hopefully it was helpful.